Steve Ballmer getting sued, baby.
Thank you. Finally. All right, look, there's a lot of news stories out there. We chewed on the John Moran thing, but Steve Ballmer getting sued by, 11 people from Aspiration?
Well, 11 investors in Aspiration. Mike, this is what I'm going to say. So, yeah, the basic gist of it is, let me just, for the people who don't know, obviously Aspiration is the company that was paying Kawhi Leonard allegedly under the table, some cap circumvention stuff. There's a lot of evidence that Pablo Torre finds out has uncovered. I'm part of that investigation, so I guess I can say I'm going to uncover some of it too. But anyways, even as Aspiration was crashing, Steve Ballmer and other Ballmer surrogates were funneling money to the company, keep it afloat, simply to continue to make the payments to Kawhi Leonard. So
wouldn't that also kind of prove Mark Cuban's point originally, right? Where you don't want the company to go bankrupt because then everything, it's
comes
house
out.
of cards at that point.
So it proved Mark Cuban's point that proved Pablo's point. Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that's the story. And then last night we get the update that Steve Ballmer is being sued by people who are investors in Aspiration. And the basic gist of it is we saw Ballmer's infusion in cash as a stamp that everything's on the up and up.
A lifeline almost.
Not as a lifeline, but this is a real thing that we're right to invest in. And then to find out literally through Pablo's reporting that no, all that was basically a clearinghouse to pay Kawhi, they feel like they've been defrauded because it was not an up and up. They were committing fraud, basically. And so they're suing Steve Ballmer for that. And the first thing I thought when I heard Pablo talk about it and I read through the lawsuit, I said, this is the most brilliant lawyer ever because they know they've got Steve Ballmer against the ropes with this situation.
There's two options, right? Like either Ballmer pays or they go to Discovery, right?
Yes, exactly. And if you go to Discovery now, everything that we've talked about, like, it wasn't cap circumvention, I was the frame, and all that gets entered in, and now you're really in trouble. So, I just think it's brilliant, but it's also like a cash grab.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Does it feel like it's going from instead of salary cap circumvention to now wire fraud and fraud of other sorts for Steve Ballmer?
So up until this point, it hasn't been a criminal conversation, right? The whole
does this make it? Is my question.
So I'm not as informed from the SEC and that level of it, but we do know that Joe Sandberg, who's also being named in the lawsuit, has been investigated, right, and has been charged and taken a trial over this. So there are criminal aspects to this case, Greg. But the Clippers, up until this point, have always been like, oh, no, this is an NBA story.
Yeah.
And now it becomes a court story.
Yeah, I think that Steve Ballmer probably is going to try to settle this out of court, which is going to be incriminating to him, I think, on its own merit. I think
the NBA will still be like, it doesn't prove anything.
I know, but that's a problem. I don't think the Pablo Torre finds out report, I think it's been maligned, meaning unfairly criticized or not taken seriously enough. And I think this lawsuit against Ballmer is sort of going to force Ballmer's hand. If you see him settle out of court, that's incriminating.
Yeah, I think it's going to force him to settle,
Greg.
I know,
because there's no way this goes to Discovery.
Okay,
if this goes to Discovery, they're doing the NBA's job for them, and we already saw how the NBA panics when someone does their job for them.
Never get to that.
Greg, the big thing is I'd rather people think I'm guilty than to remove any shadow of a doubt that I'm guilty.
And the NBA, look, if he settles, the NBA's really the NBA's going to look and be like, all right, it doesn't prove anything.
No, exactly. Well, it's Greg's right. People are gonna be like, oh, they had to settle. That means they had something to hide. People are gonna say that, but that is more advantageous of a position to be in than for them to, we're gonna take it to court, and then everything comes out, and it's like,
absolutely.
So
no, the lawsuit was filed as a money grab. There's no doubt about it. But if you're the NBA and you see Ballmer settling that out of court rather than facing Discovery, that's pretty incriminating.
No, yes, on the outset. But
I think the NBA is going to say it's pretty
thank
substantial.
God. The NBA,
NBA is rooting for that. Probably advising him on the side.
Right.
Most billionaires don't want to go to Discovery for anything.
They don't want,
whether they did it or not.
But more than anything, the league doesn't want this, right? The league's best interest, obviously, I'm not saying that they're going to subvert they're going to subvert the investigation that they're doing. But the best interest of the league is to find out that, there was no cap circumvention.
Right.
To find out there was this massive cap circumvention thing would be a huge black eye. So if discovery is withheld and this guy settles out of court and then they can't find anything corroborating on their side, it's a little bit of a, oh, thank God, rather than, oh, no. You almost don't want to find out.
Well, from day one, the NBA wanted this whole thing to go away and ignore it.
Adam Silver said, I'd never heard of Aspiration. And in the words of Maury Povich, we found out that also was not a truth.
Fraud.
Not a truth. There you go.